Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
However, there have been a certain percentage of this volume of reports that have been made by credible observers of relatively incredible things.
2, 1, 0, all engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff. 32 minutes past the hour. Liftoff on Apollo 11.
Other sightings apparently were taken more seriously.
And one in particular, an incident called the Rendlesham Forest Incident, also known as Britain's Roswell. This was in 1980, shortly after Christmas, when a few American airmen who were stationed in the UK reported seeing a UFO.
A huge, solid, diamond-shaped object they described as 100 foot long, hovering silently in the sky above them.
There is very compelling evidence that we may not be alone. Whatever that means.
American public and global public finally understands UFOs are real. This is a technology that is so far beyond anything that we have.
Reportedly appear to exhibit unusual flight characteristics, appear to demonstrate advanced technology.
Arrow is the culmination of decades of DoD, intelligence community, and congressionally directed efforts to successfully resolve UAP encountered first and foremost by U.S. military.
Welcome back, guys. How's it going? I appreciate everyone for being here. I'm really looking forward to this conversation. I have obviously recently gained some new members of Disclosure Team under the Disclosure Team umbrella, and they're all here tonight. And I'm really excited to kind of do this official introduction, but they've already been working their butts off as well. So before I bring them in, as always, guys, please keep the chat cool, calm, and collected. I appreciate differences of opinion and all that kind of stuff, but let's just keep it respectful. If you do have any questions during the live stream, then please pop them in capital letters. Alternatively, Super Chat is available if you wanted to support the show, although it's not expected. And yeah, let's not waste any more time. Let's bring these ladies in. First of all, I'd like to welcome Carolina Garcia. Carolina, how's it going?
What's up, Vinny? What's up, everybody?
Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Of course. No, I'm excited. Excited to be here, of course.
Cool. Next up, I've had the pleasure of spending a couple of weeks with my next guest, and it was a great time. We were in Colombia together as part of Phenomenology. So please welcome Pricilla Stone. Pricilla, how's it going?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Finally, a friend that I made probably over a year ago now. I really respect her research and her work, and I'm just glad that she is also a part of this wonderful family that we have now here at Disclosure Team. Please welcome Britt Barbieri. Britt, how's it going?
Hi, it's going. It's very good. I'm so happy to be here.
Well, listen, I'm really, really excited for this. It's been a whirlwind few weeks with regards to the work that you guys have been doing and the kind of the family that we now have here at Disclosure Team. And we're going to get into all of that. I just wanted to start off, and unfortunately, it's not on the best note because ufology lost a big name, or we certainly heard about it today. Lee Spiegel, unfortunately, passed away, and I just wanted to just acknowledge that. So I'm actually going to just share my screen, share a photo. If it pops up, what's going on there? It'll come up. Bear with me, guys. There we go. So I just wanted to acknowledge that Lee Spiegel, who was a writer and reporter, paranormal expert, who did a lot of work with UFOs, writing for the Huffington Post, probably most notably. But, you know, he produced and hosted over 1,500 programs on unexplained phenomena over an 8-year period for NBC. But the one thing that really stands out is that he was the only person in history to produce a major presentation at the United Nations on the subject of UFOs back in 1978 with J. Allen Hynek and Jacques Vallée. So, you know, I really just wanted to take this moment just to say rest in peace to Lee Spiegel, and thank you for all the work that you did for this subject over the years. There we go, guys. If anyone wants to say anything on that, please feel free.
I think just our thoughts and prayers are with his wife and his family right now. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
Absolutely with that. And also, like, his work is just, it's definitely paved the way for so many people. So he will be missed, but his legacy is immortal at this point. Yeah,
absolutely.
Absolutely.
So, guys, Britt and Pricilla, you have been on the show before, and we've heard like a lot about you guys and stuff like that. But Carolina is brand new to the channel, so I'm going to start off with a question for you, Carolina. And I just really wanted to know what got you into the subject of UFOs.
Yeah. So, okay, what got me into the subject? So, I know I have touched on this before, but really, it was just coming across Stephen Greer's documentary. And the first time I watched it, I was just skipping through Prime Video, found it, thought it was something that I've like never seen before. I literally
Which one was it?
And now I'm drawing a blank. The Fifth Kind.
Close Encounters, right? Yeah.
Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind. But yeah, so after that, honestly, I just kept it to myself and could not believe what I just watched. No joke, I couldn't even sleep that night because I was like, what is this? So after that, I mean, it was mid-pandemic, and that's really what got me into it. Just started looking things up, going on YouTube, seeing what other people were talking about it, and that's really where everything stemmed from. And so yeah. I mean, that's really what got me into the topic to begin with. And then since then, I've just continued to just like look into it, and I've met you guys along the way. So really excited to have the opportunity to like collaborate with you guys. And as someone who's fairly new to the topic, being able to just share the platform and like have informed discussions. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I mean, I think it's really good you say you're new to the topic, and I think that sometimes in this subject, when you've been in it for a long time, not everybody, but some people can really get clouded with so much information, and it's nice to have fresh, new minds coming into the subject that don't have that baggage. And I don't say that in a disrespectful way to anybody that's been in the subject for a long time, because a lot of us have been. But I think to have people coming from different angles is really fresh, and it's really, really good. And to have such a great eclectic mix of ladies here as part of Disclosure Ladies, I think that's what is going to work so well. And I guess that leads into my first question, which any of you can chime in on, is like, what made you start Disclosure Ladies as a collaborative, as a group of ladies? Because I know you all have your individual things going on within the subject. So what made you kind of want to team up?
Who wants to take the helm? Me. You know, for a long time, Vinny, even I think it was even a year ago, you and I had the discussion too, like more women needed to get in the field. I've talked about it with Ben, my investigative partner, and going to different conventions and seeing kind of the community in a whole. There's not a lot of women on panels. There's not a lot of women, you know, vocally speaking out at these events and these conventions. It's mostly male driven. No offense to the men in the community. They're wonderful. But I do wish to see more women, because I don't think we need to be in a place where it's all men. And so I personally had always wanted to have an all-girl kind of disclosure team led by women in the field that know the topic, know it, have a passion for it. It's not just a hobby. Like, they actually have a passion for it. They really are embedded into it. And when I had met Pricilla a year ago, I think it was now too, you know, we had talked so much, and then meeting Carolina a while ago, it was like, you know, it became more clear that I had met two individuals with different types of brains coming into the mix, that I thought, wow, what a great diversity of viewpoints, but yet coming together collectively on a fantastic topic that we all agree on. but then we're all moms. So we all know what it's like to be working, take care of kids, but also have this as our side hustle, our side job that we have so much passion and drive into. And collectively working together, we get and understand each other. So it's like, oh gosh, I can't do this because of so-and-so. Oh, I know, I'm the same way. I've got my kid doing this. You know, it's so nice to have somebody that relates and gets you. You know, there's a lot of people that just don't. So that's where it all formed. And really, honestly, it's to create a platform and a space for women in ufology to have a voice and be heard with a lot of respect.
Nice. Carolina, Priscilla, anyone want to say about their thoughts of, like, you know, putting this together? And
Yeah, I mean, I think it's whenever I spoke to Britt about it too, I thought it was a great idea. And I mean, I think it also too, it transcends just the gender. I think it's more of just having more representation in that sense, because there are a lot of great both men and women in the field. And but you know, there's just something about having 3 women together, and it's something that we just, like Brittany said, enjoy doing, and just want to encourage it. So yeah, I mean, that's really my thoughts on that.
A lot of similar things, like kind of exactly what you guys said, but also just having moms that are into this, because I always make jokes about like being at the playground, and like I just don't have a lot of common ground, and I try to like talk about what they want to talk about. And I'm a witch and I'm a UFO person, so I'm already just like a big weirdo. So it's so refreshing to meet 2 women, and then also being in like a sort of like a work environment with you guys. And I don't want to say work, but it's, you know, for me it is, but in a good way, not in a bad way, but like saying like, oh, well, my kid's like, you know, doing this morning, so I didn't get around to like posting the reel. Or like earlier, like I was having issues with the internet, and then I got like situated and I didn't post a reel, and I was like, oh my gosh, I have a lot going on, you guys, like, and we just kind of like support each other through that. And then also the passion comes through for the topic. Each and every one of us has this like passion for this topic, and it's hard to find that.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can relate as well as a dad, and I know a lot of our kids are quite similar ages as well, so I fully get that. And when you guys approached me and said, you know, this kind of would make sense to sit under the disclosure team banner, you know, it was an instant thing in my head, like, well, of course that makes perfect sense. You know, we're all good friends, we know each other really well, we've, you know, met each other, most of us. I mean, I met Britt in Roswell recently, which was great. We got to have dinner and have great conversations. Priscilla, obviously, like I said, we spent time in Colombia. Carolina, we've spoken a lot privately, and, you know, we'll be meeting up next month in the US and doing lots of stuff, and going to a festival to meet Chris Bledsoe. So I can't wait for that. So yeah, it just was a natural thing. And, you know, to be able to expand disclosure team was always something that I wanted to do, but to be able to support, you know, a group of females is just, it's something I've always kind of driven towards anyway. You know, I've had a lot of female guests, and there are certainly so many females in this subject that have paved the way as well historically. You know, we could shout out so many of them. The thing is, I'm not going to, because I know I'll miss out so many, but you know, that's kind of the thing. And the great thing as well is that you've started on Instagram and you've just hit the ground running as well. And I think that should be like another talking point, is like the power of social media in being in 2023, how we can reach people. So I'd like to sort of just get your guys' ideas on why Instagram is the first kind of start for disclosure ladies.
Well, I think Instagram's kind of like a common ground for all of us. I think I started on Instagram where I met Vinny, and then that led to this giant friendship tree that exists now. And Instagram's just cozy, you know, it's low key, but you get to post fun videos and fun posts. You have the ability to reach out to people and have them reach out to you easily. And I don't know, I honestly didn't have a lot of strategy growing my other channel, Quantum Witch Cafe, and I was just kind of doing it for fun, and it grew over time. But I meet Carolina and Britt, and they're just like, this is like, you know, they're just giving me all these tips to make my posts more professional and kind of make it more geared towards Instagram and what Instagram wants to see, and the Instagram's audience. When I say Instagram, I mean like the people in Instagram, the people, the followers, the colleagues, all that. So I think that I feel like it might have, for me, it was just like a comfortable place to start.
I think for me, like, the power of just creating, like being a creative person to create something that wasn't there before you made it. For me, just having that creative outlet is just therapeutic, really. And then with that, the way that you create, the way that you put your content out, and the way that you have, all of us have our own approach to it, our own creative style to it. And, it forms a brand that just, by your content, it attracts certain people. And so that's, for me, really, I just think Instagram is a great way to put out that creative outlet and then reach the people that you want through the content, So yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think with Instagram too, it's, I noticed the heavy trend on TikTok. There seems to be so much conspiracy drive on TikTok more than Instagram, to where Instagram feels more like, here we are, this is real, this is a more raw, real, here I am talking about this discussion, or hey, did you guys see this video? It seems more like friends talking than I'm jumping on a platform because I have this crazy thing that just happened to me in the middle of New York City. It just, I don't know. There's just to me, it seems like there's a divide between the way TikTok has reels or well, I guess they're not even reels on TikTok, but their videos on TikTok versus videos or the conversation pieces that happen on Instagram. And so already being on Instagram, it just kind of felt like a great place to start, to then eventually maybe go to other locations, but have a really good foundation, like concrete platform to start on.
Yeah, I agree completely. Myself coming from the Instagram background as a public figure in the subject, I think it has that great common ground between YouTube, where it's sort of more, or it was, longer length videos, and then Twitter, where it's a minefield, really, isn't it? Let's be honest. It's great to be on there, but it's not always that welcoming. So yeah, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Instagram is great. Now listen, I'm going to leave this next question with you while I just go and open a window, because it's really hot in the UK and I'm not used to it. But I want to know what your plans are with Disclosure Ladies. Do you have like a goal or a time scale of how to expand and anything you would really want to do with this platform, I suppose?
Well, who wants to take a head on that one?
Britt, I think you should.
Yeah, because we talked about this. But yeah, you go first, and then we can add on.
Yeah, I think, again, to start, I think it's going to be the drive for the ladies, for us to start the platform, to start to show that as women, we have a place in this field, that we do know our history, because most of what comes with UFOs and the UFO community is historical. There are things to back it. It's not in the same with paranormal. It's a completely different scope because we have such a historic history with the government's involvement in it. And so I think being able to start a platform with ladies leading it, showcasing that there are other levels to the UFO community, and allowing a place for women to come on and vocally speak, I think to eventually transform this into a live platform, like on YouTube, to gain the traction, to have other women in the field come on as guests, to be able to speak from their viewpoints, the way they see it, what they've been doing on behalf of their work in the field from wherever they're from. And then gradually, I think the hope would be that we would be invited as a team to expos and to events, to be the voice, so that we can also help other women get involved, and maybe eventually under the Disclosure Ladies build more ladies in different parts of the US and in the UK and in Ireland and wherever else, Puerto Rico, wherever else we want to expand to where then it's like, hi, I'm a branch off of Disclosure Ladies and I'm part of that platform, and this is what I'm doing to help advocate in the Disclosure Ladies field, and so I think eventually it would be amazing to see just a huge expansion in the Disclosure Ladies. Like, there can always be the tier, but then from that tier, there's just this amazing growth of a foundation of women that are just backing each other eventually is, I feel, the goal for Disclosure Ladies.
Yeah, that was well said. And I was going to talk about, growing and being able to have females eventually, and not just females, but researchers, that are important to the field, that pay the way on our eventually YouTube channel, and talking to these different, starting with women, but obviously not opposed to men that are important to the conversation as well. But I don't think that there's a lot of female researchers I don't see on YouTube or on interviews that are doing all this work. So I think that getting more people to talk to that are already in the field and then adding more people later is an amazing idea.
Mm-hmm.
And like kind of to add on that too, just I really do think that we will bring a fresh new perspective as well, and just to kind of diversify things. And so I think that's really like a goal of ours as well. And then to really just like highlight big contributors to the field as well. So I mean, those two things, and just not being afraid of being heard. And me specifically too, as like I said, someone who just got into this not that long ago, not have the opportunity to grow and to like learn from others as well. And maybe we'll reach people that are just getting into this this topic and want to know more about it. So I think all of those things combined is really what makes this unique in general.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, you're all doing great things on your own individually, but it's the same old saying that, as a group, things work better together. You're more powerful. And it's not just being women, because, I've been happy to be a part of this. I mean, I certainly don't have a big platform, but if I can just give you guys a bump, I wish for you to be way more successful than me and really start something here, like a movement, not a cult. For anybody out there, a movement, because
that's going to go that way. But
well, this is the thing.
I'm just kidding.
I shouldn't have to caveat it with extra things, but it is. It's really about the fact that you meet so many people in this field, whether you have differences of opinion or not, but you find common ground. You're friendly. You build relationships, and you spend so much time talking about the subject privately. That why not come together, talk about it publicly? Work together, collaborate together, learn together. And this is the whole thing, because nobody has the answers, but together we can sort of search for them. I think that's a fantastic thing. So, yeah, I just reiterate, I'm so proud to be a part of this, not that I'm not, and I'll just say this to everybody listening and watching, that I'm not, these girls are doing their own thing. I have no input. I'm not in their group chat or anything like that.
We're coming for your brand, Vinny. We're coming for your brand.
Yeah, that's it. Come and get it. Yeah. No, absolutely. So yeah, that's it. But listen, let's shift the conversation more into kind of like UFO current news and events. And obviously, the thing that's on everybody's sort of lips at the moment is the David Grusch story. So let's start there. June 5th, I think it was, we had this huge story from the debrief from Ralph Blumenthal and Leslie Kean, and I'd just like to kind of get you guys' take on it, not just like about the initial claims of Grusch, but the big picture of where we're at with whistleblowers actually coming forward.
I'd like to start on this. I think that we had a great movement happening or forming when David Grusch did come forward. I think that was like, oh, this is great. This is good for us. And, everybody came out afterwards, and a lot of even the media bases were all saying, oh, well, we still aren't getting the actual firsthand. And it's like, they just kept forgetting about Ryan and David, which is very, sad, because to them, it's like, well, we've heard their stories so many times. It's like, yeah, but you haven't heard it at Congress. That's what they now said is on record, which makes this so much more superior instead of them just coming on a radio show. Like it's a much greater topic now because of that, because of what was said on record and under oath, which is what they hadn't done before. So that was huge. And then basically what David was saying was stuff that we had heard before over the past 40, 50 years, but we just seem to forget. We forget that these statements have already been made. And now we finally have someone from an intelligence position saying, I know that this is what's going on, X, Y, Z. Here it is. I can tell you in a skiff. And people are all mad about that because they want us to just plop a body out on a table. And it doesn't work like that. They don't understand the levels of how dirty this gets and how serious this gets. I mean, all of us will be flagged eventually to be watched because of the movement we are in. I mean, that's just the truth of it. And you have to know what you're getting into. It's a dirty business in this respect. But what made this whole thing take a really quick, sharp, nasty turn was the smear campaign and having The Intercept make this thing. Now, everybody's thinking, oh, it's just to get Grusch. No. The stakeholder here, which we all will agree on, was them saying everything's off the table. You come out with anything from any rank of intelligence, and we will smear you to no end. Now, other officers and other positions might have deeper records that they don't want out. And that just gave them a little bit of a note to say, whoa, maybe I don't want to come forward as a whistleblower. I know we're supposed to have immunity and we're supposed to be protected, but they just let out, medical records. If this is true, they pointed this guy in the right direction, how to get them. So I don't want my stuff out there, and it puts on that fear tactic that they've used so beautifully for the last freaking 80 years. And sitting back, it's like, well, now we have to be even better. We have to be even bigger. We have to show our support, which I think Luna and Brichette are actually doing, and other members of Congress are showing that support for other whistleblowers to come forward to say, this was nothing more than a pathetic campaign. And I want to applaud Intercept, because what they didn't realize what they did was they just brought in a whole other crowd of audience that was like not interested in the UFO. No, who gives a crap? But then all of a sudden it was like, wait a minute, are you attacking on mental health? Well, now I want to back this. Now I want to know what this is all about. And I want to stand by this, because how dare you do this to our servicemen? So now they went and opened up so many other new areas of people in the crowd that want to come in and be involved that never were going to be involved before. So your smear campaign backfired on you. And now our whistleblowers are sitting there going, well, now I kind of want to come out, because not only will I have the backing of the UFO community, but the backing of the public. So maybe I do want to come out now. So it backfired on them. And I think it's just hilarious, quite frankly.
Absolutely. Well said. It kind of, like you said, it didn't just hit where it hurt Grusch. It hurt a lot of people, and it affected a lot of people. So many people suffer from mental health, and also people that have experienced these UAP and anything associated with it also go through a sort of ontological shock a lot of times, and that leads to mental health problems. And I think that the world really rallied for Grusch because of the way that was put out, and it was just so low hitting. But at first, I think, like Britt said, people will be afraid to come forward. But then the way they saw the community had them, it's like everybody, like if you could envision everybody making a protective barrier around Grusch when that happened, I think that was our intention with us not letting it go and not letting it slide with that sort of behavior. It's a huge deal going backwards to have all three of these witnesses speaking in Congress on record. That is a big deal. Like, we've tried this in the past, right? But it just keeps getting more and more official and more involved, and more people in Congress are saying, like, hey, like, at the very least, you are not doing this in a legal manner, and we have the right to know. And those are our representatives. So if they don't know, then how can we possibly know if our representatives aren't allowed in these meetings and allowed on Air Force Base and other military installations to investigate? So I think that this was huge. The last few months have been huge, from Grusch to now to everything before that.
Oh, for sure.
I think too, aside from that, another thing that it opened up as well was the issue of just national security in general and how these crafts are maneuvering. And it really opened the door to, well, hopefully did, to be able to understand, what this phenomenon really is. And I mean, you heard Fravor's testimony. I mean, all of their testimonies were just honestly I mean, I don't know if you guys can just rewind and take yourself back to the minute when you were listening to them just speak and sharing that, we've all been saying under oath, which is a big deal. And especially, Grusch being that whistleblower right there in the middle. I mean, for me, in my opinion, I mean, I think he was very much prepared to understand what the implications of that was going to be and what was going to happen afterwards. I mean, I feel like if you're coming forward as a whistleblower as well, you can't really be that naive to think that, okay, my background isn't going to be tried to brought into play with all all of this. And so I mean, it's really just like a lot of different topics in one, isn't it? Like national security, then also all of these programs that are happening and under that Congress doesn't even know about. And so then you get that aspect into it. And so, why not like go in, like for all the skeptics, like go ahead and investigate it then, like look into it. And if they're all a bunch of liars, well then go look into it then. Let's see if they are or not.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's a really good point, actually, because if what David Grusch has come forward and claimed is not true, then surely the skeptics and debunkers, surely they just need to sit and let it play out, because the truth will come to the forefront. They don't need to be going on these like attacks. They just need to sit back and just have their cup of tea and just wait for it all to fall down. Because if it's not true, it will fall down. And over the last few months, I've had people send me photographs of David Grusch. I knew David Grusch. Here's me and him on a mountain climbing, and my friend knew David Grusch, really humanizing him. And I was very lucky to have a conversation with David Grusch on the phone. And it wasn't just about UFOs and stuff. It was just, hey, David, how's it going? And you can just tell he's just a normal guy like everybody. He's just a normal human being. And I think he's been pedestaled by some people, understandably to a degree. That's the human nature. This is what we want. But he's also been knocked down by people purely because he goes against their narrative. Nothing else. It's completely unnecessary. So some really good points there. Really, really interesting points. And that does lead me to kind of talk then, we've mentioned the hearings there and the witnesses. This was pushed onto a public and almost global scale as well. We've seen other countries reporting that the US had these hearings and that. I mean, where do you think we're at now? I feel personally we're in a lull, and this always happens after a hearing or a big report comes out, and people are like, oh, it's been forgotten about already. But these are the times where I feel like more work's being done. So do you guys have any expectations for what comes next, or what you would like to see come next?
Oh yeah, we're waiting for NASA, right? NASA's supposed to be releasing a report. So we've got the lull from that. It was supposed to be in July, right? And then now it's being pushed. They're weeks behind or whatever. But that's going to be like the next little, it's almost like keeping a fire going. Like you had to put more in. Yeah. And it's okay because there is so much to digest right now. Like I've watched that hearing and everything else that's coming through since, like news-wise and commentary-wise from other people in the community. And it's just like, you just keep picking new things out to reevaluate. And then it starts to sound familiar. And you're like, hey, like, wasn't there like that historical clip of them saying something almost exactly like what Kirkpatrick said or whatever? And then you go back and you realize like Grusch has said, this is like a multi-decade thing. And it's so like the phenomena to start drawing us in from all these different areas because that's what it does. Or whatever.
Yeah. This is where it gets tricky. This all happened right before Congress left for their vacation. So it gets quiet, and then the hope is, are they going to really do the skiff with Grusch after this to get that information? How hard's the push going to come? The one thing that is concerning is the news outlets aren't all taking it as serious. They look at it like, we've been through this before. This happens. They're not looking at the main key components that have transpired through what I would consider a historical UAP hearing. And then, of course, there is the NASA. I hope for something out of the NASA report. Sadly, I'm not holding my breath. We've seen this so many times. And we have to understand that within the government, there's money at play. There's levels that you are not a privy to know what we're doing and why we're doing it. We saw with Project Blue Book with Alan Hynek. I mean, he finally just had enough and went in the office and said, I'm not lying anymore to these individuals. What is really happening out here? I can't explain it. And I can tell you it's not from this earth. And this is what I do like every day. I'm not going to lie anymore. And they basically told him that he has no right to know and that he's going to do what he's told to do. And if he doesn't like it, go somewhere else. But that's what he's supposed to do. And it got to a point that he said, I don't want to do this anymore. And that's when Blue Book, they basically went, well, we don't need you and we don't need Blue Book. So we're closing up shop. So it's a true, there's a level in there that they, you know, I mean, we try and give the government all this credit that they have all this, you know, they sit there and like, what are we going to do today? How are we going to get at the UFO community? But there's so many individuals that have no idea. They really don't. So when they come forward and they're like, we have no information on this, or we've never seen this type of stuff, they really haven't, because they're not a privy to that information. These certain levels are, and if you're not a part of that level, you just don't, you're not involved in that party. Like, sorry, you're not welcome to know it. And that's how it works. So it's the same thing that happened with Roswell. And the one point that I stress on, and we've talked about, ladies, is the threat is still real. The I will destroy you or make you disappear is still there. And it's happened. It continues to happen. And I know people laugh at the idea of Men in Black, but that's basically what this level is. And there are people that are erasers for a reason. They come in and you no longer exist when you push back on the government and their agenda. And so it's a fine line that a lot of these intelligence officers and those under the whistleblowing belt have to walk, because it's not so much their reputation, it's my family and my life. Is this worth losing my own life over, or my family's? And there's a lot to it on that. And so moving forward, I hope the fire keeps burning. I think we hit a very historical moment, but I am concerned that we will hit another divot unless there's enough pushback from the correct individuals. I think Bruchette and Luna will continue to keep that moving, which will help us. And I know News Nation is doing a phenomenal job with everyone there targeting this topic, bringing on people almost every night, honestly, on Banfield. It's almost every night. And I think that's what we have to keep doing. It has to stay at the forefront of everyone's face. You know, people fear what they don't understand. So they'd rather just say it's not real and move away from the topic than to have to come to terms with the fact that we really are just an ant in an anthill within our own universe, that there are other people living in it. So
I just have like a few comments on that. Going back to the news and mainstream media and who's covering it, who's not covering it. And, you know, my thoughts when Brittany was speaking was, one, I don't think a lot of these reporters are even experienced enough to even be able to have those conversations. I don't think that they feel comfortable enough to even have those conversations. Also, it's about their reputation as well. I feel like a lot of people don't want to touch it because of their, you know, they don't really know much about it, and there is that stigma around it. And we just saw, gosh, what is her name? It's at the tip of my tongue, but she was, she interviewed Corbell and she like got ripped apart. What was it? Robin or Nicole?
Oh, I know who you mean, and I don't know the name.
Shoot. I'm sure somebody in the chat will say it, but I mean, think about that. Like, I mean, it was laughable. It didn't really look good for her, right? And so, I mean, she wanted, actually, good on her. She asked Corbell to come back and kind of make it right, but there's a lot of people that aren't really willing to do that, and because they just don't really know the background, and there really is a lot, honestly, to know, to be able to like actually report and like have those investigative questions, have the right questions to ask. And but yeah, I mean, it's basically it.
No, what blows my mind, sorry, Vinny, what blows my mind, and I'll make it really quick, is that how can you not be curious about this? Like, you are a reporter and you're given, like, you're not researching the, like if I had Jeremy Corbell an opportunity to interview him, and I know a lot about him, I've followed him, right? But I would still go do more research into the cases that he's brought out and things that him and George Knapp have spoken about. Like, as a reporter, you need to report. And to do that, you need to do research. You can't just trust the script that's handed to you. And a lot of people are not brave enough to do that, unfortunately.
Yeah, completely agree. I mean, there was a News Nation posted something the other day that their numbers were over CNN's because they had the guts to actually follow up on the reporting. They didn't just report upon the hearings like most, you know, I think Fox touched upon the hearings, CNN touched upon them and left it at that. News Nation followed it up and saw their numbers skyrocket. I mean, it's you've got to stay on the ball with this. It's important. And I think that's really showing where we're at when it comes to the mainstream media and reporting on this. And I think that's just fantastic. But listen, I just want to take a second to just dive into the live chat for a second. And I'm going to start this off by apologizing to all the gentlemen in the live chat. But I just want to shout out all the ladies that are here supporting you guys. Julie Farrell's here. Jeanette's here. I saw Amy Alien Girl was here. I saw Jen, who was part of the Phenomenology team, was here. I think she said she was on a flight to Florida and watching us. I mean,
awesome. Hi, everyone.
Thank you so much. Lara's here as well.
Of course. We love Laura.
Yeah.
We do.
Coral's here. I mean, this is great. This is the kind of thing we wanted to do. We wanted to make it more inclusive, and everyone's just so welcome here at Disclosure Team, but again, over on Instagram at Disclosure Team and Disclosure Ladies. And it just warms my heart to see this kind of gathering. You know, I appreciate my live chats and my followers and subscribers and colleagues across the board, but to see so much inclusiveness. It's just really great. So I thank you so much, guys, for being here. And please, I'll reiterate again, if you have any questions, pop them in capital letters, because I will read some out towards the end.
Shout out really quick to Andres, you, Escape, VFX, always see you guys, Lord Bass, and then
everyone's there.
Yeah, so
it's so weird. I can't see the chat on the side because on StreamYard, when you're not the host, you can't see the. Can you?
I don't know. I thought they might have added it now.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
Yay.
It's been a while. Just kidding, guys. I gotta press a button.
Yeah, this is good. I'm really feeling positive about this, and this is the beauty as well. When we mentioned earlier that we're all parents and that, I'm sure Britt has just had to go and deal with her kids and that, and that's what it's all about as well. You know, we have to do what we have to do outside of this subject as much, and I appreciate that. I wanted to move on and talk about. I saw, in fact, I think I highlighted a comment. And this is from Scape VFX. I thought this was really poignant, that we all need to stop depending on the government for disclosure. History has proven that. And that is something that I actually try and stop and think about every now and again, because I'm so steeped in trying to push the government for answers to get that disclosure. But then we have to think about experiences and even UFO witnesses. People that have seen this or experienced this for themselves, they don't need the government because they know that it's real. It's there. That's what they believe, that they've gone through. So I really wanted to just talk upon that for a minute, that we don't have to rely on the government. And I know, Pricilla, you've had experiences in the past. So just talk upon that point for us about how that makes you feel.
Okay, so at first I was just kind of on the experiencer side of things, just doing my research, following the New York Times article very privately, because I'm used to being like, people would literally make fun of me if I brought this up. Like, I got told straight up, you're a liar, when I told people about my first experience as a child. So to me, like, seeing all this happen within the past 3-4 years, whatever, has been, or since 2017, has been like very vindicating as an experiencer. But I'm not, just because we want this government to take accountability for the things they've been hiding from the people of the world, not just the American people. You hide things from the American people, you're hiding it from the world, because there's so many people here from different countries. So they're going to talk, right? So it's not just about, like, we're not doing it exactly for disclosure in all cases. They do need to be held accountable, because if people have been lying and breaking the law and operating, under congressional oversight or over congressional oversight, it's illegal. You're blowing people's money, you're blowing the government's money, and you're doing it secretly. And also, if what Grusch says is true, and there's some sort of biology involved, and people jump to aliens real fast with the biologics comment, but it could literally be a tissue sample, cell samples, like forensic type samples, right? But either way, if it's different from us, wouldn't you want to know? I mean, it's a big secret to keep. And it's more of an accountability thing, not so much a disclosure thing, because like we've had our own disclosures, a lot of us. But it's also for people that haven't had major experiences. this isn't for you then, like I'm not trying to be offensive, but if you
Sure.
think this is all pointless, then it's not for you. You can go back, you've had your disclosure, cool. But the more that the government talks about it, the more people are going to join in on the conversation, and we just don't know where that's going to lead. So we have to be open-minded as experiencers for that, and still kind of keep our feet on the ground, even though we've had this like mind-blowing experience that probably shattered your reality, because it did for me. So I get where you're coming from, but it's not always about disclosure. Sometimes it's just about being accountable for breaking the law.
Yeah. Absolutely. Carolina,
And
anything?
I just think like it's almost like, going into ethics, it's just like a moral and ethical like obligation to, going back to what Priscilla said about hiding certain things. I mean, where's the funding? Where's the money coming from? I mean, what a better person than David Grusch to be the one appointed to investigate these things, and like, with whole legacy programs, and like if there's all of that. I mean, it's more than just that, and I feel that tackling it this way is going to give some, hopefully will give experiencers just validation, and then also being able to kind of talk about it more freely. And so I think it's a win-win on both sides of the table.
Yeah. Right. I have a really, really good question here, and I'm going to let Britt tackle this one now that she's back. So John says, do you think there is a disparity between how the world perceives the idea that UAPs are ET in origin and the complete lack of empirical evidence for it? It's a really good question.
That's a really good question. And extremely full, especially my brain now is, I'm in mom mode, so I will try and answer this as quickly as possible.
I'm going to leave it up there just
Yeah. To be honest, I'm not even sure how to properly answer this question.
I think I'll start off. No, okay, go on.
No, you can.
I was just going to drop in that
unpack.
We're still trying to get to the answers, and if it turns out that this is completely prosaic, then fine. I think the fact that there are still little pointers pointing to the fact that it could be anomalous, that's what drives me. I don't believe anything necessarily because it's not all there, but I leave so much on the table, and then I can just tick them off one by one until we're left with the final answer. I think there's enough there to keep me in the subject.
Yeah, I mean, I think honestly, though, in regards to the question, so it's like, because we've seen a lot of what the tech has been made through other countries, through our adversaries, as well as even the ones that we are working with currently, and we have been confirmed that we know that Canada is working with us in this re-engineering and whatever program that is allegedly out there. Your brain can't help but wonder, and you have to understand. So we're looking at it from a human-based origin. So we're terrestrial in nature. Then you go celestial and extraterrestrial. Extraterrestrial is anything not of this planet. So if it is something that seems to give the illusion or appearance of something that is not terrestrial in nature, then what other explanation is there? Well, then there's extraterrestrial, which is just something not of this planet. So at this point with UAPs, until we do have verifiable evidence or any type of evidence whatsoever that can point to the direction of, oh no, this is man-made or this is extraterrestrial, I think that the majority just pushes to extraterrestrial. However, what backs this and forwards it to the direction of extraterrestrial in origin is it goes all the way back to Roswell, when the bodies were seen and how they looked. That is obviously not something from our planet that we're not aware of. So immediately that stigma, hi honey, I know, that immediately just falls in place of being extraterrestrial. You can't place it anywhere else because our mind can't place it here on Earth, basically, if that makes sense. So for me, I have seen enough evidence from documentations. Yes, it's Elvis. I know. Sorry.
That's all right.
We're all parents here.
No, she's too afraid to come in.
I'm afraid to know what mine are doing because they have been quiet. So we'll see what
mine's in school. Mine's in school, so can breathe for a minute.
Yeah, go ahead, get the doll. So anyway, So for me, I think that the extraterrestrial in nature for me is where I sit with it, just because of the history with it, with Roswell and everything else within the phenomenon.
Does anyone else want to touch upon that? You know, the fact that there really is a lack of empirical evidence.
I would like to. And, you know, I want it to be the Roswell entities or beings. However, with people's different experiences, there's so many different types of beings. And even if it is something that evolved alongside with us and they don't want us, and I don't know, like they, meaning maybe like the powers that are controlling these things, the different agencies involved, maybe even some sort of, I don't even know what would be hiding it, you know, and compartmentalizing it so much without just saying the government, because it sounds so conspiratorial, you know, we say the government, but it could be something else. We've seen so many different theories come out. We've seen, you know, Michael P. Masters with the extraterrestrial model saying they're us from the future. We've seen people say it could just be something that evolved alongside us. Either way, somebody knows what's going on. Hal Puthoff's paper that on ultra-terrestrials, what David Grusch said with different types of theories involving quantum mechanics and quantum physics, right? So it's all on the table, but I think the closest thing that we do have to empiricism would be Roswell, because of all the eyewitnesses and all the red tape, you know, there's so much there. And that was not just that instance that was big. We don't even know the full details of the 1930s Mussolini situation.
Yeah, I mean, it could be it just like it all depends really on what specific case I think we're talking about. You know, like they could all, I mean, who knows, you know? We just really don't know. And then, I mean, what is, like with Fravor talking about Nimitz and the Tic Tac, that could be a different, you know, explanation than what Britt was talking about with Roswell. And so that's why I think it's really important to just like continue to investigate these things, because it'll give us a better understanding of like our world and where, you know, what we are actually living in. And then I'm sure, I mean, there's been a lot of data that has just like been destroyed, or in these cases that they don't even have it and they can't even get to it. And then it's just like this whole back and forth thing. And yeah.
No, that's a really good point. I just wanted to just highlight this comment because I thought it was cute. Lara says, hugs to all the parents. Absolutely. And then this one here, which really got me, was Coral says, I'm not a parent, but we'll be a cat parent in a few days.
Oh,
yes.
Congratulations. Coral, I just became a snake grandma. Over the weekend, my snake had babies.
No.
Yes.
That's scary.
My husband brings a snake in, and the weekend that he leaves, his freaking snake has babies. So I'm here with like worms at nighttime, like, take the food, babies, take the food, babies.
Wow.
But I'm a grandma, Coral.
That's amazing. I mean, scary amazing, though.
Oh, are you not a snake guy?
No, I'm not, funnily enough, in the UK. I mean, I'll stick with Coral here and be on the cat side of things. You know?
I mean, I love cats too. But
listen, let's jump on to, I mean, we mentioned mainstream media, which is great coverage for getting the subject out there on our screens. But another area that we've had for a long time is documentaries and TV shows that is also kind of can be controversial in this subject when you look at it, because we have great people like James Fox putting out wonderful documentaries on the subject and bringing forward the information. But then on the other side of things, we have big network TV shows like History and Travel Channel putting out things like Ancient Aliens, and I've kind of just gone to two extremes there, but there's a lot in between. And you know, a lot of people seem to really hate that it's sensationalized, and I get that to a degree. And even if you make something like the UFO subject into into entertainment, I think sometimes it still presents the facts, and I say facts loosely. It presents the cases and it presents information. So I'd like to know you guys' thoughts on that, how pushing it out to a real broad audience via mainstream TV networks and Netflix and Amazon and Prime and all that. How do you guys feel about that?
I think it's great in a way because it's getting people interested in the topic And from there, as I mentioned earlier, if you're really interested, you have to do your own research. Like there's a little truth nugget or there's a little source within each of these sensationalized ancient aliens, right? You can go back and read about it and actually learn more. And then you'll be like, wow, they totally portrayed that in a way that made it sound super sensationalized and wild. But now I'm reading about this, this thing they found in this part of the world that correlates to UFOs or extraterrestrials, non-human intelligences, whatever. And now you're in the topic and now you're in the rabbit hole with us. So I think that it has a place, but if that's all you do is watch what's put out on mainstream, you're not going to have a full idea of what's actually happening with the phenomena, as if any of us has a full idea, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think the problem with there's a fine line within the media platform of this, like Netflix, streaming platforms. And as you guys know, I work in that field.
Yeah.
And I think the problem that I see happening so often and why there's not a more serious approach to this is because of, yes, there's ancient aliens, which is great. And I like how they show more historical things of the theories of where we visited in the past, which is wonderful. But then we have these other ones that turn it into a muck. And I'm just going to be frank with it. They come out with this information as if it's fact. There's no backing to it. And then you have these so-called researchers or investigators going out in search of this stuff. Yeah, go for it. Looking for these things. But then it's all faked. It's all really just just sensationalized to a point to where it's making it almost like a laughable topic, and that's a problem. We're not going to have more. We're not going to have more seriousness. Sorry, guys. In the field, if we continue to make joke-like material in this field, in this content, I think what's great is when you get the news platforms to talk about it, then there's a seriousness to it. But these shows, I think these shows are killing it. I think they're ruining it for us. Sadly, the Roku just came out with UFO Cowboys, and let me tell you guys, listen, I love the production company that made that show. I love those guys. I speak highly of them. They're a great team of guys, but that show is my key point of what's going to ruin the UFO community of people taking it seriously. And that's a big problem. That's a huge problem because it's a real issue and it's not something to joke around in that regard. But it's painful. It's just painful, some of these shows. And this is what hurts us. This is what makes it laughable. This just makes it comedic.
Yeah, it's like a double-edged sword, really, isn't it? And just like one quick last point, I think the most authentic, just recently with Beyond Skinwalker Ranch, episode 8, the very last one with Chris Bledsoe, I thought that was probably one of the coolest episodes that I've seen, just because of just the way that they went about trying to validate, what it was that he was going through, like hooking him up through the brain, whatever the thingy was, and seeing what his brain activity was doing. And so I thought that was honestly one of the coolest things. But yeah, I mean, it's like you can get two sides of the whole. It can get a little bit crazy sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, hi Nathaniel. Sorry, I'm just jumping in. I saw Nathaniel.
No, I was gonna highlight that for you. Good to see you, Nathaniel. I know you've been on Priscilla's show
a couple times. Yeah.
always great. Good to see you, Nathaniel. I wanted to highlight Coral's thing here. Look, I was approached by Discovery and we'll be on Unexplained Caught on Camera next month, explaining a little about my experiences and showing craft videos. That's absolutely amazing. Congratulations, Coral. That is great. I'm going to look out for that. And this is great because this is everyday people, and I mean that with the utmost respect, Coral. Everyday people getting the opportunity to show what they've captured from just living their everyday lives. And I think that's really good because, like I said earlier, I do focus so much on the government aspect and really pushing disclosure on one side. But when I take a step back and look on the other side of the general public, I think that's fantastic. So Coral, congratulations. I'll look out for that.
Congratulations.
I will share it and all that good stuff. I really, really will. And this comment is amazing. I want to shout out D. I'm a father of 3 and just love the real life vibes here. Real everyday people taking this important subject seriously. You're all doing something very important right now. Thank you all. Thank you so much,
Thank
D.
you. Thank you.
I think that really hits home to me that I spend so much of my days being a father, looking after my daughter. Like today, I went swimming this morning. I went to the park this afternoon with all the other kiddie moms and dads and stuff. And everything in between that, and even a little bit at the time, is like UFOs. It's never stopping. But just to show that people do recognize that human aspect and that normal lifestyle level, that really, really stands out. So thank you so much for that, D. And then Jeanette here says, I totally agree with you, Britt. That's why I've come to YouTube channels like yours, Vinny. I think that was in response to these somewhat questionable TV shows. But Jeanette, thank you so much. I appreciate you coming here, and everybody as well.
Well, and also really quick, just to play on that one topic of discovery. The great thing, like you were saying, is the everyday people. This community, this community and this basically what we're doing in the UFO community, the push and the disclosure that just happened at Capitol would not be here if it wasn't for the individuals, the everyday, who are documenting, being loud, being eyewitnesses outside of government or military personnel, because why we are where we are today is strictly and merely from eyewitnesses. It all happened in Roswell. It all happened in the UK with the Roswell UK. And as I like to say it. And so we had eyewitnesses. And at the time, we didn't have phones to document it and, stream it to everybody that we possibly could. What we saw was a story. It was a story that stayed between a group of people. Something that was just super cool that happened. They witnessed it, but then that story was transferred down to their families and then their families. And then it became more of this this incredible thing happened to my father when he was a fighter pilot, and grandpa, and all this other really cool stuff. But it all was an eyewitness testimony. And in the court of law, an eyewitness testimony can send someone to prison for the rest of their life. And it amazes me that it doesn't withhold or stand any ground in this field. So you have to ask why. Well, in my opinion, it's because there's truth behind it. That's why. But eyewitnesses are what got us here today. So I think it's amazing he's going to be on, Paranormal Caught on Camera with his story. I think that's wonderful because it is people with genuine experiences and eyewitness experiences that got us where we are today. And I love each and every one of them, just so everyone knows.
There we go. Your daughter's so cute there. Coming soon, Disclosure Kids.
Disclosure babies.
I can have my son do that for you. He's all about it.
Oh, my son recorded a little blurb he made his own little UFO podcast recording on StreamYard, and it was so funny. I think all our kids are into it. My husband's always like, look what you've done to our kids.
Hey, Ivy sat on my lap and is just mesmerized by the whole setup, the mic and the camera and everything.
Yeah.
I say we just dump them down all together one evening, and I reckon we'll get the views.
Have the kids do the video.
Hey, Theo Vaughn does that with his nephews, and it's actually pretty hilarious. So
okay, we'll talk about that then.
The things they come up with, they are paying attention more than we know. Because
but this is yeah,
the boys were playing upstairs, and I heard my son going, "It's the phenomenon! Run!"
No way, that's amazing. I mean, we're doing this for the next generation. Let's give them a voice. Oh, that's hilarious. I do have a question here from Michael. We're skipping from fun to seriousness here. Michael says, what's going to happen in society when it finally comes out about the truth of abductions? Woof.
Priscilla, that's your question.
Yeah, I have a plan for you, Michael. No, Michael, I think it's important for us to create networks within ourselves. There's not to plug my friend or anything, but Experiencer Group that Jay Christopher King runs.
Plug it.
And other people run it too, but Jay's the one that I know the most, and the groups that are run like that are going to become almost like safe havens for people. this is what people are going to freak out. I mean, if it happens super suddenly, like they roll the body out, you know, in formaldehyde or whatever in front of Congress, people are going to lose their mind because that's going to, you know, bring into the question, like, I've been told there's one God, this is how things are happening, this is happening. And we're seeing this even happen with archaeological evidence with the Cave of Bones. We're finding new bipedal hominids that existed with us. Then we thought there was only, what, 3? We grew up learning about 3 if you're old like me. So, like, it's important to remember your friends. It's important to tell your story and get into these groups, into these communities where people are going to understand what you've gone through. Because otherwise you're going to be sitting by yourself with this experience. And then when people freak out, you could be like, hey man, I got you. I can hold space for you because this happened to me a year ago, 10 years ago, when I was 5, when I was 8, when I was 35, you know, like you're going to be able to be one of the light showers for people. So I think that we're going to rely on each other when that day happens, if it happens so abruptly that people are put into ontological shock and crisis, that we have each other. So you just have to remember, like, the human species is more durable than we give ourselves credit for. And this is a little different, you know, finding your place in the universe, finding out it's not such a big deal, even in maybe like on this earth and like other planes, it's going to scare people. But again, community, that's how we're going to get through it. And share your toilet paper this time, guys. Because when the aliens come out, when the aliens come out.
Oh goodness, I have an ornament that says "Never Forget," and it's like a little toilet paper roll. So,
hey, there you go.
Never forget, guys.
Sorry, guys.
Sorry, that's all right, Britt.
I'm not really sure what we were talking about. I have a
toilet paper. We were talking about toilet paper and about sharing it.
No, we had a question from Michael in the live chat saying what's going to happen when people realize about abductions, you know, the reality of abductions, and how are people going to react.
Mm-hmm. That's going to be, you know, that's going to be a tricky one, because I think a majority of the public, they don't take this serious. And I do think that's another reason why the government, or this level of intelligence, I should start saying, and not government, because it's really not the government, it's just a level of intelligence, why they can't just come out tomorrow and say, okay, everybody, we've been lying. The truth is there are extraterrestrial beings, and whether they're from our oceans or our space or wherever they're from, all this stuff is true. You know, there are true abduction cases. There have been sightings. These are, you know, non-human intelligence, and the whole world would implode on itself because there'd be so much to it. So they have to start, you know, kind of letting it out a little at a time. And I think once they start doing that, and they start explaining that not all extraterrestrial are bad or bad in nature, like there's good and bad, just like we have on our own planet, I think people would start to digest that a little bit better. But the biggest question with abductions is, how do you protect yourself from something like that? You can't. You know, if a burglar comes in, you know, you can throw everything at him and scare him, and your alarm can go off and they're going to run away. But, you know, the real question, I've been asked this question, what would you do in the middle of the night, come out of your bedroom because you heard a sound, and there's a 7 to 8 foot tall looking being standing in the middle of your room, and it can knock you out, you know? And I have got 2 little kids that I protect every day. Like, I can tell you, I don't know what would go through me. As much as I like to say I want to meet an extraterrestrial, which I really do, but just not in the middle of the night in my home, willing to abduct me or my family. Yeah. So it's an emotional, you know, that plays on you. I think if we were little, this was taught to us in school, and it was taught to us in books, I think we'd be more willing to accept it, and we would be more used to it as part of our everyday life. But when all of a sudden it comes to your attention that something like this could happen overnight to you one evening, then yeah, you're gonna have a lot of people doing really stupid things because they're not gonna know how to handle that.
There's a lot of people in the chat that has happened to, you know what I mean? And there's a lot of people that has happened to, you know, and
exactly,
there really is nothing you can do. But with the admittance of, yes, this stuff can happen, maybe that's where we find out how to protect ourselves, because we're actively researching it. Right. As a world or as a country, or not just, you know, these little groups of people studying it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's being the voice on the matter, which I think is very interesting. I don't know if you guys are familiar. And unfortunately, I do only have like a couple of minutes, because I have someone helping me with her, but then I will have to go get my son from school. But I don't know if you guys have been following. There's a new movie called Jules out, and you guys should look it up. I'm such a sap. Okay. So I cry.
Oh, it's sappy.
No, it's not sappy. I'm just an emotional person.
Okay. I am too.
On an emotional level, I'll cry on cartoons. I cry on commercials. My husband will be like,
Oh.
"Are you freaking crying right now?" I'm like, "Yeah, she lost her finger. It was so traumatic." Anyway, there's this movie called Jules, and what's really cool about it is there's a lot of A-list celebrity names in it that I think you'll recognize, and it's about a UFO that crashes in this man's backyard. And he's an older gentleman, him and his wife, and he's always at the city council telling them what they need to do to better the town, better the city. This is what he's asking of them, right? And then he just pops in one day and is like, "Oh, and by the way, a UFO crashed in my backyard and ruined my azaleas." And they're like, "Did you just say a UFO?" But the greatest part about this is that there's one little extraterrestrial being driving this vessel. And through the process of this extraterrestrial crash landing in this man's backyard, they teach each other something about each other, that they both need it for whatever reason. And then the extraterrestrial, they help, get it on its way. And the promotion behind this film has had the extraterrestrial character walking around subways and downtown. And
Yeah. Like subways. Yep.
Yeah. And just sitting there.
People are like with their phones, like,
People were like, "What is this?" People on TikTok were like, "This is a real person. This is real." And I'm like, "No, this is promo." But again, if you look at what they're doing, they're making it a commonplace. How is the world reacting to something they don't know? They didn't overproduce and overpromote the movie for a reason. They didn't do that so that they could do this type of promo to see how would the world accept something that doesn't look like us, that stands out, that's curious about our world. How would we accept something like that? Who's not here to harm us. It's just here. It's learning from us in some aspect. And so it's this really cool emotional game that you play when you're looking at a movie like this, or you're looking at a promotion like this. And if you study and look at the way film has interjected our thought of how we perceive things, it's happened so much over the years. And so with this particular movie, Jules, it's going to do the same thing that E.T. did, that Contact did, that Close Encounters did. All these movies had moments in it. And again, people are like, "Oh, but then there was Alien." But if you remember Alien, which, first of all, phenomenal freaking film. But if you remember Alien, they were not affecting us. They didn't come after us. They didn't come after our planet. They attacked us because we were in their space, in their domain, poking the bear. So that is where a lot of these movies, if you pay attention to the backstories and go back and rewatch some of these films, even Predator, go back and look at what initially made them say, "Okay, fine. You want to poke the bear enough times? You're going to ask for it." You pay attention to those interlining, and then you have like Contact, which was a not phenomenal movie, and other films like that where we integrated learning about another type of being or a place beyond our own planet without it being straightforward in our face, but making us go, "This is so sci-fi. This is so cool. I wish I lived in that world. I wish, this was like what I lived in." Well, the reality is you kind of do, but you don't realize it, but you kind of do, And so like E.T., the best thing in E.T. is they can't take him because you know what we will do to him, right? So that was another key moment that they were saying, look at our human nature. Look what we do to these things. Because in Roswell, they kept the one being alive for an entire year and tortured it. It was seen on several different bases. Like one of the reports was they thought it was Bring Your Kids to Work Day, because they had the being dressed up in army garb and it was all just hanging on him. And they were rushing him quickly into other back rooms on bases. This one I believe was in Texas. And they were trying to like usher him in, and all these guys were like, "What was that? Like that was that a kid?" But the fact is like we torture to get intel, to get information. We don't just sit them down and be like, "So where are you from? That's cool. What do you do? That's awesome. So why did you guys crash? What happened?" Like, no, we're just evilly, like we just set out with a goal to just hurt. And so there's so many key takeaways from these films, and a lot of them we're given information to make that film, like Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Steven Spielberg was very good friends with Jan Hynek, and he was given a lot of information on that film. And so I believe that the subtlety of the industry some of them were given information for a reason. Those leaks are for reasons. And this new movie, I think you should watch it closely to see how it plays out in what's happening within our own space in the UFO community. But it's good. I recommend people to watch it.
Yeah, I can't wait. I did see the viral video of that alien kid, and now I realize what it all relates to. That's amazing. I mean, ladies, we've just hit the hour and a quarter mark. We could obviously do this for another hour and a quarter, but you know what I'd like to suggest is that we do this every 4 to 6 weeks, you know, see how Disclosure Lady's getting on and just report back in, because this has been such a breakaway from what we normally do here on this channel. But it's shown not only the seriousness, but the human aspect, the everyday people aspect. And I think that really kind of relates to a lot of people that we get here in the live chat as well. And I certainly feel like that. So I can't thank you enough for being here and for just being a part of the Disclosure team, because now I have a team. It's not just me. I do want to just give a shout out to Katie Howland, who did join for a while. And, you know, things happen, life happens, and that didn't work out. But Katie is a good friend of mine. I'll always love her to bits. So I got to give her a shout out. But the Disclosure team will always continue with her as part of it. But now we have you three wonderful women as well. And we will expand, I'm sure, in the future. So guys, I want everyone in the live chat listening now in the future to hit the description below, go and follow not only Disclosure Ladies, but all these wonderful women individually as well across all platforms. And yeah, I guess that wraps it up. I've really had a great time. I cannot thank you enough again for everything, for being here, and the big picture of being a part of Disclosure team. And yeah, I think that's it, guys. And I guess
my apologies about my daughter.
Oh no, this is what I mean. This really, it really does show.
No, I'm serious. I'm afraid, like, when this ends, what I'm going to walk into, because they've been so quiet.
Oh, I love it so much, guys. But yeah, thank you so much. Live chat, great questions. Great to see you all here. Shout out to all the other females in this subject. We love you all to bits. Keep going. And we will see you here next week with Victor Vigiani. So guys, for now, take care. And we'll see you soon. Peace.
Bye.